Hi, welcome to Days in the Wild Big Game Hunting Podcast brought to you by Phoenix Shooting Bags. Today we are going to talk a little bit about uh, why we shoot ourselves in the foot, I guess, in the hunting industry, and maybe some things that are going on. Got Charles Whitwam, president of Howl Wildlife, on, and we're going to discuss a few things. What's going on, man?
How you doing? It's been a while. Been a while
I,
since we've,
I would say we talk all the
well,
friggin' time, but it's been a while since we podcast, probably a
I was
couple of
gonna say
years
together, like
on
on
my
your
podcast.
podcast, on
Yeah,
yours.
yeah,
Yeah, it hasn't been a while because we just got done doing the Meat Eater podcast not too
yes.
long ago, 2 weeks ago. I don't
Yeah. Feels like forever ago.
know. Yeah.
Supposedly, I don't think that's, I think she said it wasn't going to be out till like August or something like that, right?
Yep. And it's
Well,
July 9th right now. When are you putting this out?
probably next week.
That's a question we got to start asking
Yes.
when we're on other people's podcasts. Is when does this go out? Because it's the information can really change and it could be completely irrelevant by the time it comes out,
Yeah,
you know,
especially specific,
in the world we're in.
yeah, the specific
Yeah.
issue stuff, which luckily for me, I don't usually talk about too much when I'm on podcasts talking about how,
Yeah, it can just really change. When we
uh,
found out we did the Meat Eater podcast, and then I think we found out later it's not going to come out till August, and I'm like, oh man,
yeah,
that was
there was
we
things we
should
could
have.
have talked about. Yeah.
Yeah,
That we didn't. We didn't want to talk about because we were afraid it wasn't gonna,
yeah, it's just
we didn't want to let the cat out of the bag, I guess.
yeah.
But that would
That
have
that's
probably,
that's definitely happened quite a few times with Dan, where he's been on a podcast, and this was like in February or March. Things are rapidly changing, or whatever, and then oh yeah, we'll get the podcast out in a couple months. He's like, oh crap, this is not going to make any sense when you put it out at all,
hmm.
you know? So then he started asking, he basically started saying, can you get this out in the next week? Because 3 weeks from now, what we need people to do could be completely different. So
Right.
I guess it's important in that space, important to think of. We're learning things.
Yeah. It's a constant learning curve.
Yeah,
I'll tell
yeah,
you
it
what, you
is.
know what, to me, like, yeah, the politics side of it's forever going to be changing and stuff, but just the tax things and the rules associated with doing things that you wouldn't think have like raffles and like all that stuff is just
Raffles
freaking
and sweepstakes. Oh my, yeah,
bananas. And it's on my brain right now because I had
yeah.
one of our outfitters called me up today, which I talked to you about. I'm not going to say specifically on the podcast because I don't want to let the cat out of the bag right now. But they were asking if we were going to do this raffle thing, and we can't make it work in the time frame because being uh, a 501(c)(3), you're bound by certain rules, or any organization really, because there's gaming laws and stuff when it comes specifically to raffles. But anyway, it's I was looking for a go around, and it doesn't look like we're going to be able to make that happen, which sucks.
But we do have right now a giveaway. So
Yep.
if you're going to put this out next week, that totally makes sense. We
Yeah.
have a giveaway where we've had a lot of giveaways before. Giveaways just for our members, just for being a member. You're a member. We have, I think, 4 different memberships right now. Um, but if your membership is current on August 10th, would it be by August 10th? It's on August 10th. We'll
On
just say
August 10th.
on August 10th. If you have a current membership, that automatically includes you into a giveaway. And that giveaway is to win a 3 day, 4 night, something like that, fishing trip in Louisiana, offshore and
Insured both,
inshore, with the Meat Eater crew.
which I
Which
think is awesome. Like,
which is super cool. Meat Eater basically reached out. They said, "We love what you guys are doing. Here's a way we can support you. Do you guys want to do this?" Heck yeah. that was
yeah, right?
basically that was basically the conversation.
No brainer.
Yeah, heck yeah, thank you. And so it's cool. So I think the way we're going to do it, actually, instead of picking 2 people, it will be for 2 people, but I think it makes more sense to have
One winner with
one winner and they get to
bring a friend.
bring yeah, bring a friend because that's cooler, right?
Yep, yep, exactly. Um, no, that's super powerful um to have that kind of buy-in from a somebody like the media, like somebody like Steven Ranella and that Meat Eater group. Because we might as well talk about it. We're in this position right now. Let's talk about it. I see so many people bashing
Yep.
the Meat Eaters, the Cam Haines of the world, Joe Rogans, all these people that have giant platforms that not only talk to the hunting public and enjoy hunting and speak about hunting in an intellectual, positive way, they're reaching outside of the hunting space, which is what we need. We need people who don't hunt to, I don't know, I hate the word use sympathize, but sympathize with or understand what hunting
Yeah.
is.
Connect, relate, hear a different side of the story, all that. Yeah.
Right. It's like we put, not to put a negative light on, and I'm definitely not going to point any people out, but we put things up and people are like, "Oh, you're working with Meat Eater, or we don't even want to be part of Howl anymore."
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, that's just ridiculous to me. In what business
Yeah.
model does that work? That a somebody who has the potential of growing your business, let's just say we were a company and we were selling a product, and an influencer of some sort came up to us and said, I could take your product and I'm going to do it for free. I'm going to take it and I'm going to make it explode. Are you going to say no? Because that person wears a bikini?
Well, it's
Like
that
what?
person wears a bikini.
Like I don't, the
I mean, I think there's a I mean, yeah, okay, there would be folks we would say no to, right? There's
sure,
no standout reason to me at all that I'm when Meat Eater first came on, when I first saw it, I was like, dude, this is showing hunting in a way that I've never been able to get across to people, and they're doing it on a mainstream level. Like this is incredible.
right.
I love the story. I love the connection with the food. But yeah, you're right. So we did this Meat Eater giveaway, and it's probably happened with other giveaways
Sure.
too, or partnerships too.
And other
But
actions and other things like, there's
yeah,
always going to be somebody on the other side of the fence, of
yeah,
course.
people that are supporters of Howl. I actually looked him up. Like, oh, this guy actually is a supporter. He's got memberships. He's donated money. Um, said you're involved with Meat Eater. You're promoting Meat Eater, and I don't want anything to do with Howl if you're going to continue to do that. I'm like, dude, what? First of all, Meat Eater said we love what you are doing, Howl. We love what Howl is doing. Now you're a supporter of Howl. You're a
Mhm.
member of Howl, so you love what Howl's doing too, right?
Right.
Meat Eater said we love what you're doing. We want to help build you by offering a trip with us. That's it.
Yeah.
Who like
They
just
didn't,
that's it.
there's no backroom deal like, hey, support Meat Eater so we can push our agenda or whatever it is that these people think, like this nefarious thing. I know
Yeah.
there's a lot of, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, so it's not something I want to unpack on this, but I know there's, and even myself, I had reservations, but I know there's people that have reservations about like the company that bought Meat Eater and this and that. But the fact of the matter is they hunt predators,
Yeah.
they hunt anything and everything. Their personalities are relatable, and they talk about it in an educated manner. And like you said before, they're giving something to the non-hunting public that's digestible by them to understand what we're doing. And by all accounts, whatever negatives might be there, and I don't know that there are, and I don't think that there are, but whatever negatives might be there, their positives far outweigh their negatives. And
Yeah, I don't know the details. I've looked it up a little bit, but it's like internet rumors and gossip.
Well,
What,
exactly.
what people have told me is that they're anti-hunting and anti-gun.
Oh yeah,
And I'm like, well, we aren't. So it'd be really strange if they were, if they're offering all this support
sure,
for wildlife. And beyond that, this is not the only time Meat Eater has supported Hall for Wildlife. They have made several donations. The most recent one was just a few days ago, but several donations to Howl over uh, during our existence over the last 2 years.
sure.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway, they
when
want
they do
the trivia.
their trivia stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's. I
yeah.
mean,
Anyway,
uh,
props to Meat Eater. Thank you,
seriously.
Meat Eater, and
Yeah.
thank you to everybody else, that continually supports us. But it's discouraging. I didn't realize we were going to lead into this. I was just talking about the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing, but yeah, it does.
That's
You did want to talk about how we shoot ourselves in the foot, and yeah, it's like, come on,
yeah. That's one of the ways. It's like
yeah,
if I said to Kafaru, "Hey, I don't want your help because I don't like your backpack." Like that's not
by
a true
the
statement. I
by
like
the
their
way,
backpacks.
by the
Love
way,
their backpacks.
I love
But
their backpacks.
that's beyond that. I'm just
Yeah.
using that as an example.
Uh-huh.
That's like that makes no sense to me.
Hmm.
You like so one of the things that I know I thought we were clear about, but maybe we're not clear about, so let's clarify it. It with Howl is that we didn't want to alienate any
Right.
anybody in the industry. Like we had no exclusivity. Like so for instance, okay, we work with Onyx and Go Hunt. They're in direct competition with each other with their mapping stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um
Yeah.
we don't want that. We want everybody to get in the proverbial boat and row in the same direction. We want everybody to be on the same page
Yep.
because we are all in this together. I think I've said that bazillion times now,
Hmm.
and not that I'm getting tired of hearing myself say it, but I'm hoping it's filtering through some of these people's heads that we are all in this together. And it doesn't really matter what you hunt, how you hunt, what you hunt with. Now, excluding we don't condone poaching, we don't condone illegal acts or illegal methods of take and all that other stuff as we got involved in the Wyoming wolf thing, and we could talk about that a little bit. So as long as you're on the up and up and you're showing hunting in a positive light and you're doing things the right way, we welcome your support. We welcome to work with you. Like that's yeah, well, to bash on Cam Haines because he can afford to go on a private hunt or Joe Rogan because he can afford to go on a private hunt now when the guy can literally run 200 freaking miles, leave your ass in the dust and and
Yeah.
shoot your freaking eyeball out from 100 yards away. Like
Yeah.
just I mean, don't take away from from them because they're big names and they're doing great things outside of hunting, but they're doing great things with hunting. So
There's a lot of, I think, misconceptions on people like that because they are big names and they'll go on, Joe Rogan, and
sure.
a comment or a paragraph or a minute long, whatever, can get yeah, can be misunderstood. Or maybe they made a mistake. Maybe they could have said it better. It's tough when you're on a podcast,
Sure.
whatever. But so I'll bring up Cam and all these other awesome, I always call them influencers. I know they don't like that name, but they are influencers.
Yes.
And I think it's a good thing. Like, I see that as a
Public
positive.
figures.
I
They're
see that as
public
a
figures.
positive thing. Yeah, because
They're,
the work that they do is influencing, and it can be good or it can be bad. But when whenever this was, a year ago or something, whatever, specifically, when I said we're going to get these people to start talking about wildlife issues and advocacy and supporting Howl and getting behind CRWM.
mhm.
There were a bunch of people that said, no way, absolutely, it's not going to happen.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, all right. Really? You don't think they're ever going to say anything? You don't think they're going to get involved? Oh, no, they only care about themselves. They only blah, 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 blah. They only want to sell this product. Well, that is not true. And we have proved them wrong and we're continuing to prove them wrong. And Cam Haines both with networking, with social media, with even financially,
Hmm.
has specifically supported Howl,
Oh
has
yeah.
specifically supported CRWM, and has done a lot. Because frankly, we reached out to him. We reach out to people. We're just not afraid to ask. So we reached out to all kinds of different brands and celebrities and names, influencers, public figures, and said, "Hey, we need your help. Here's what we need help with. Here's how you can help. And here's who to talk to if you have more questions about this, right?"
Right.
So you're in the clear and you know what you're getting yourself into. And the feedback, the support, the response has been incredible. And it's only continuing to grow. So I like proving people wrong. And it's fine. Nobody has to hate each other. No, I'm not going to go back and say, "See, I told you so." It's just
No, no,
we're
it's not about that.
building something different. And that's the thing that Hal does is we aren't we didn't I don't think we're really necessarily building something that's better. We're building something that's different.
Hmm.
And that difference is better. But we aren't the same. We're not coming in with the same tactics or the same blueprint or whatever. We're doing things differently because things need to be done differently.
Right.
And it gets really frustrating because we're sort of starting from zero because we're doing things differently and we want everyone to be caught up and we want to be a lot bigger than we are and be more organized than we are and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's tough when you
But
want
you
to
talk to
get
anybody and
everybody's have the same mindset as you
yeah,
when it's so different than everything else.
yeah. But people are it is encouraging when I get outside of the bubble and talk to people and they're like, "I can't like you guys are everywhere. I hear about you guys everywhere. I hear about CRWM everywhere," which 6 months ago, CRWM did not have an Instagram
Yep.
account. Well, no, they did, but nobody was running it. It was like
Yeah.
160 people followed it.
Yeah.
When we started pushing them for people to be directed to them, there was nobody running the Instagram account. And that's what we do. Like we're a young company, Howl for Wildlife. Like we really need to focus on our brand and focus on getting more people involved and blah blah blah. This Colorado thing came in, and we basically said,
Put that on hold.
what's our real mission here? Like our mission is what? It's not like it's not necessarily that Howl has to win. It's these battles that sportsmen, sportswomen
Hunting needs
face.
to win.
Hunting needs to win.
Yeah.
And what was very different about that is we literally just became, a part of CRWM. Not officially, but just we're going to promote CRWM because we need to win this battle. We need to get we need to get organized. We need that Dan is a fantastic leader, so that worked out fantastic that he was there.
Hmm.
But that's what's different about us. Like we're putting our support behind groups like that when it's needed. Um, and yeah, I'm bragging about Owl a little bit right now, but we should because I think
Yeah.
people need to know. And sometimes people forget. Somebody asked today, we could talk about the outdoor life thing.
Well,
But
yeah, no, definitely.
somebody was like, Howl for Wildlife, you guys are against mountain lion hunting? And I'm like, dang, we didn't reach that guy. And this guy lives in Colorado. And I was like, hey, we've been in opposition, we've been opposing this since day one. You live in Colorado. Have you heard of CRWM? I kind of feel like he hasn't, which is crazy to me. But here they
But not
are.
not
Follow them,
not
support
everybody's
them,
connected,
fund
man.
them, engage with them, get involved. You know, um, I didn't mention anything about how, like, don't get involved with us. Yeah, I want you to get involved with us, but right now that's our main focus
Right.
is Colorado. So anyway, we're different and it's cool and it's exciting and it's also frustrating, but I think in the end, whatever the end is, it's all totally worth it.
That's the product of echo chambers. So you
You know?
think like you feel like we're all over the place, right? Or where everywhere you look, where you know s- you're hearing
Yeah.
about Hal or seeing Hal or seeing CRWM. But the
Yep.
fact of the matter is, you're just looking within your chamber. You're looking within your echo chamber, and
Yeah.
and yes, you're in there. But outside of that, nobody knows because it doesn't escape. The messaging doesn't escape that, and that's a lot of what I want to, like I've wanted to do is to try to, reach beyond that. And that's how you reach beyond that, by getting involved with the meat eaters who have a much broader thing. I just did a podcast with Cliff Gray. Matter of fact, I think it came out today. Um,
Yeah, interesting.
stuff like that. Like those are people who reach more people than you and I reach. Okay, yeah, we had a decent following beforehand, and it helped catapult us into a direction. But at some point, you're only going to get so far until you're just preaching to the choir always, right? And if the choir isn't taking your messaging outside of what you're doing, and I'm sure it is to an extent, but it's not to the extent that we need it to grow in the means that we need to grow. So it just goes back to how we started us off in talking about all these people that have big platforms. We want to be able to get as many people as possible. At some point, it would be excellent if 14, 15 million hunters, in North America were supporting what Hal's doing, had the similar messaging and similar, ideas on how to approach people. Because if we reach that level at some point, we're going to be so undeniable as a group at hunting, as a group, as a niche, that we're not. We might even make anti-hunting irrelevant. Oh my God, I can't speak. Can't speak. So, but I
Well, yeah, I mean that is the goal. I think it's accomplishable.
sure,
If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be doing this.
exactly.
Um, it is accomplishable. That's why we needed to be different. The way things are currently, the way I don't know, engagement works currently
Hmm.
is not the way. It's certainly not the way. People are unprepared. When I say people, I say the organizations that we typically think we would rely on to fight these battles, they're not prepared for it. They are
Hmm.
not prepared for it. They are not. I don't think they're the right people. I don't think they have the right mindset. I don't think it's the right leadership for that space. And what I have seen in the last, especially in the last year, but in the last, I guess, 2 years. Well, I mean, it's a part of why Howl existed in the first place is there was a problem, right? We
Yeah.
recognized the problem. We wanted to solve a problem, and it's an ongoing problem, and it's not just one problem. It's a mindset issue. But one thing I've noticed recently is just nobody knows what they're doing. I
Hmm.
mean, we are not prepared to fight some of these battles, and there's details that are just missed. There's details that are just overlooked until it's too late. Like, oh, should have done this. I'm like, has nobody done this before? Has
Hmm.
nobody thought this out from A to? And no, I don't think so. I don't think so. And that's why I think you see a group like Howl and a group like CRWM, who is a state-based organization, rise up, become a nationally recognized organization to some extent,
Hmm.
um, and have a completely different style, fresh, new type of leadership and message. What's crazy about the whole thing on CRWM side, we're talking about like two people. I don't know how many. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's less than five people. Okay.
Right.
What's crazy about Howl is less than five people.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
it's
That's exactly five people.
it's exactly five. Yeah. Are we five now? Okay. Yeah.
Five. Yeah,
Cool.
that's five of us.
So man, that's what that's what excites me because if we when we get to 10 people and 15, and it's not just about numbers, but if we're able to do this with five people and we have the next five people that are at the same level or better, actually better than the first five is the way I would like to look at it. I want better people. I want smarter people.
Oh yeah.
Um, and we can magnify that and we can become exponentially greater, then those 10 people will even be able to do much, much more. And that's why I truly do believe at some point we can have millions of supporters, and that will turn into the results of that will turn into making the anti-hunting movement irrelevant, because at the core of the anti-hunting movement, what I think needs to be exposed is that it's about control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about whether you are a hunter or not. These are elitists who are trying to tell you how to live and are
Mm-hmm.
trying to tell people what's wrong with their cultures. The PETA president, the PETA president just wrote a letter to Max Fennell, who is an African American who just recently, I'm going to get the words wrong, was inducted into a tribe because it was recognized in his ancestry that he's a part of a tribe, and I can't pronounce it. It starts with a Y, I think. But PETA wrote him a letter and said, your culture basically doesn't matter.
Yep.
It doesn't matter the way you guys lived. And you need to change yourself. So I'm not talking about like this is just telling white people this or whatever else. It is, these are a group of people who are trying to tell you exactly how to live, where you should get your food, what's natural, what's not natural. They lie, they literally lie about everything they do. They are an industry
Mm-hmm.
that is funded on lies, on propaganda, on misleading the general public into their emotional cyclones of what it really comes down to is control.
Right.
And I don't think most people are for that. I don't think by far, I don't think most people are for that. But we have a tremendous job in front of us to start exposing that, because
Right.
they've got kind of the right now currently they kind of got the angle on, they got the grip on, you know, painting hunters as cruel, or animal
Mm-hmm.
cruelty or abuse or whatever the heck it is they want to call it, or defining what trophy hunting is, or saying that we don't even eat the meat. Just outright lies. They kind of have the angle on that. Once we start getting into that space, which is going to be really soon for us here, um, that's when things are going to start to change. I also think that's when the current sportsmen and sportswomen who will start to see what Howl does when we get into that space. That's when I think things explode, because they're like, yes, this is what we've needed. This is again what makes Howl different. This is what sets you guys apart, and that's what we're going to do. And I think that's the way to do it. I don't necessarily think it's through the legal avenues. I don't necessarily think it's through advocacy. I think it's through public education.
It's
And
definitely
I can say
an
that because
education.
that's how the anti have done it. They've educated the public to
Yeah,
get their
they've been
percentage that
dealing
they've.
they've been
Yeah,
dealing in the arena of public perception since day one.
yeah,
But that's what they're dealing with, public perception.
yeah,
It's and they can manipulate that in any way, shape, or form they want.
yeah.
That's a lot of things that I've been talking about with people is like who whoever it's like a race to whoever gets to capture that person's viewpoint first is the one that's going to happen. Because if you go out there and you poll 100 non-hunters and you ask them specific questions, more than likely, if they don't have some kind of positive experience with a hunter or know a hunter or had a hunter in their family, their perception is going to be that of something that was fed to them from the anti-hunting world, typically, like
Hmm.
something that aligns with that, because that's the information that's out there. I mean, we were talking about this, and we could roll into this. We were talking about the whole clickbait thing, right?
Yeah,
Like people don't really dive deep into stuff, especially they don't dive deep into stuff that they don't necessarily really care about,
yeah,
right? So they're just going to take those one liners. They're going to take the first information that's fed to them, and that's you know, that's what's the word I'm looking for? Gospel. That's the word there. That's the word of Christ right there. Like
Yeah,
they're not going to
looking
look into it.
especially on social media, everyone, it's just the reality. Most people are scrolling through, you pick up a little bit of information, it goes through your mind and sits there. It's influencing you in some way, shape, or form. And what really bothers me on our side, something I feel like we can control
Hmm.
to some extent on our side, is when we have publications. I mean, sometimes it's outright hunting publications who
Hmm.
just get the story wrong, but it's not just that they're getting it wrong. It's the sometimes they do get the story wrong. Okay, let me break it down like this. Social media is basically you have an infographic, and on that infographic it says something. So you have a headline,
Hmm.
and then if we're talking about Instagram, you have a caption. So you can write a certain amount of words in there, where you sort of give if it's a story about, let's say, something that's going on in Colorado, you can get a little preview of what's going on in the infographic and in the caption, and then it'll say, for more, to read the whole story, go to the profile, click on the link so you can read the whole story. Okay. Sometimes the whole story is wrong. Oftentimes what happens, and this just happened today, is the infographic and the caption on Instagram will tell a completely different story. It will tell a sky is falling story
Hmm.
when it's not true at all. Like the claims that are made in the headline, the claims that are made in a caption are factually wrong completely. You can't even debate it. It's wrong. And then you'll go to the story and the story could be completely different. It's like, okay, you wrote the story right, but why did you do this? What were the ethics of writing a headline that that completely that's just untrue, and that in fact hurts and takes the wind out of the sails out of organizations like Howl or CRWM or other groups, who are really in the trenches every single day and fighting this battle and doing stuff
Hmm.
essentially for you. um, why would you write something that's so damaging? And if you don't realize that, you really need to take a second look at your professionalism and what your profession is. I mean, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not a professional on freaking writing or Instagram, but I know how people work because we have actions up, right?
Right.
Like,
Yep.
we'll get 5,000 people that liked an Instagram post, and then 1,000 that actually go to the website to click the action. So
Right.
that, you know what I mean? So click-through rate is very low. So I'm not going to write something that's misleading on a headline or in an Instagram caption, um, that just takes the sales out of efforts of people who are doing real work. And that pisses me off. Frankly, it pisses me off. And thankfully, enough people are paying attention to call that out. Um, and if we want to talk specifically, I'll talk about the outdoor.
Yeah, I
I'll
think
talk
we
about the
should.
outdoor life.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't want to, not that I have nothing against outdoor life, um, as an organization, but it's just a problem with media in general. We might as well take the opportunity to show what is going on with this very specific example.
All right. I'm gonna go to it right now. Um, so it's here we go. There's an outdoor life article on Instagram. I'm going to read the infographic. It says anti-hunting group gets enough signatures to put a cougar hunting ban on the Colorado ballot this fall. Now, that could be interpreted a few different ways, but if I'm just reading this, it sounds like they got enough signatures
Yeah, it's
and
going
it's
to be
going
on
to
the
be
ballot.
on the ballot.
I don't see
However,
I don't see any
how,
other way to interpret that, but okay, I'll
well, let's
bite.
let's let's back it up with a little more. So here's the Instagram. This is the caption. What's written on Instagram? Another controversial wildlife management decision will be put in front of Colorado voters in November. Okay. So if you
See,
had any questions about the infographic, that just said It will be put in front of Colorado voters in November. That is factually wrong. On July 9th, 2024, that is factually wrong.
Mhm.
And then it goes on to say an anti-hunting group has collected enough signatures to get a mountain lion and bobcat hunting ban on the Colorado ballot this November. It's the latest example of the state taking wildlife management decisions from biologists and turning them over to voters. Tap the link in profile for the full story. Now, I went to the full story. The story is fine.
Right.
But the story is completely different than what it says here. Now, if you go to the comments, you will understand, and it'll prove the point that people are not clicking through the story. They read that, they read those statements, which are very strong statements. They are saying
That it's going to be on
this
the ballot.
happened, and now it means this,
Yep.
and it's going to be on the ballot. Exactly. That is not the truth. What happened is this. Cats Aren't Trophies, who is the issues committee that is for the ban on trophy hunting in Colorado, they submitted signatures on July 5th because that was the deadline where they had to have everything together and submit them to the Secretary of State. Cats Aren't Trophies has claimed that they have submitted 180,000 signatures, and then in another post 188,000, different numbers. We don't know what the numbers are. We don't know anything until the Secretary of State gives a count on the signatures that were submitted, and then they basically verify the signatures. They take a sample of the grand total that was submitted, and they do checks on them to see if they're real signatures. Were they filled out correctly? Did the addresses match up? Are the people, citizens of Colorado? Did they write everything down right? And then the the outcome of that can be automatically disqualified, automatically qualified, or somewhere in the middle where the Secretary of State then basically goes through every single signature and verifies each one, and then they'll get to the final number to see, if it does go on the ballot. But right now, the only thing that happened is Cats Aren't Trophy has submitted their petition signatures.
Right.
Anything about it being on the ballot, all that, untrue. That might happen. That might happen in 3 weeks. What might also happen in 3 weeks is they didn't get enough signatures, qualifying signatures to qualify for the ballot. We don't know. But what this did to the groups that are really in this battle fighting it, when you put out a headline like that, it people become defeatists. They're like,
Right.
oh, it's already done. It's already on the ballot. So then in 3 weeks, when you have CRWM and the issues committee, Colorado Wildlife Deserves Better, who are they're really going to be the ones that are directly fighting this battle. When they come out in a few weeks with new information, on updated information, real information, factual information, and say, hey, here's what we now need to do, it's going to be really confusing to people who read this article and said, I thought this was already done. I read an article. I thought this stuff was already done. How come you need more money now? How come you know what I mean? So now we got to do more work to re-educate people.
Right.
And
Right.
it's just it's unfortunate. And I know this one specific, I know we're picking on Outdoor Life right now. This one, there's other publications I could pick on, and nobody's perfect, and we aren't perfect either. But when something like this comes out that's just so wrong, yeah, it gets to us because we're directly involved in this. And I think I won't get into these details, but that information should have been correct.
Right.
The story was correct, but it goes back to the ethics of what is this clickbait crap? Stop with the clickbait.
Right.
You could factually write clickbait. Well, how about we do that? Let's okay, stick with clickbait, but make sure it's make sure it's factual.
Right.
Let's
I mean,
start there.
just adding the word possibly might be on the ballot would have changed the whole.
Yeah.
It still would have been just as clicky, I think,
Yeah.
from a marketing standpoint,
Yeah.
and would have
Well,
made people
and the
going, "Oh, I
Instagram
actually
caption
have to."
could have been
I
way different.
I
Yeah.
could, yeah, and of course, yeah, same thing there, but just been like they're much closer to the finish line, so we have to be on guard, you know, that kind of stuff. But
Re-education is tough. Like it's tough if you have to go back. Like,
yeah,
you know, anytime we put a post, I don't care who you are. If we have the following of, Beyonce,
yeah,
um, whoever, it's probably multi-millions, following of Joe Rogan. It's not like if he puts out information, he's reaching everybody.
no,
If he wants to reach everybody, which is impossible, but you got to over and over and over and over and over and over again. What do
and
you mean you
still,
haven't heard about Howl? Well, yeah, that's
and you
because,
still, and you still don't.
yeah, and you still don't. Yeah. So when stuff like this comes out, and again, I read Outdoor Life, like a lot of what they do. This stuff like this really hits a button. It because it I think it sets us back a little bit. But there's been outright hunting publications, like pro hunting to the core, who've
Yeah,
gotten this stuff wrong before too. They've gotten the stories wrong. They've definitely get onto the clickbait thing, and it's like, come on, guys,
yep,
let's work together here. Don't make us do more work. This is
right,
already hard enough. Again, we're only 5 people. I
right.
mean, dude, give us
Oh man.
anyway, it gets frustrating. It gets very frustrating.
So let's talk about this a little bit since we're talking about it. What does it mean if that, okay, you gave us three options. Obviously, one of them, great, they don't make it. We know what that does.
Mm.
But if they get, um, pre-qualified or whatever, and it goes to the ballot, that I think that's a little bit more cut and dry. I think if they have to go through all the signatures and verify each individual signature, and ends up still making it on the ballot at that point, let's kind of explain that a little bit so people understand that, because that puts us back a ways. And I think you said what, it gives us like we're 60 days out from the actual vote when that comes done, right?
I don't know how long the Secretary of State takes to verify the signatures exactly, but
Mhm.
the other option is our side, actually any side, our side could elect to challenge the signatures as well.
Okay.
So, and that would take a whole bunch of money, legal, legal crap and staff and blah, 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 blah to go through. Let's say there's 180,000. Um, we would essentially then be challenging the Secretary of State's count,
Mm-hmm.
because it might not be the most accurate, and there might be some legal like when we look at a certain signature, there could be a legal reason. Hey, this doesn't qualify because of this.
Mm-hmm.
They put United States in where it says county instead of their county, something like that. And if the Secretary of State missed that, then that's just an example. And I've never done any of these challenges, so I'm just kind of repeating what I've
Mm-hmm.
been told. But if our side was to challenge it, it could mean that, um, and if the challenge fails, it could mean that this does not officially get onto the ballot and get a ballot number, because it's not going to be initiative 91. This
Mm-hmm.
91 refers to the initiative during
Right.
the
Once it's a
petition.
ballot number. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna
during the
be
petition collection time. But once it qualifies, it'll get a different number. So that could be like September 5th or something like that, early September. So basically, it would give you 60 days
well.
before November 5th, before the actual vote. Um, but again, we're kind of we just have to wait. We're in a wait and see right now. That's it. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll know what the next steps are. The next steps might be they didn't qualify, and then maybe Cats Aren't Trophies are going to say we're going to challenge that.
Right.
Right now, they're going to have to put up a bunch of money and challenge that, or the numbers, the validity rate might be just so bad where they're like, all right, we're not going to get this, and then it's over with. It doesn't go on the ballot.
My guess is they probably will challenge if it doesn't get on there. because at the very least, if they challenge and they win and it gets on the ballot, that puts us in a much worse spot because again, we're going to lose the time. Because I know
It's
there's
like
a lot of people.
$500,000 also
Oh
to
yeah,
challenge.
okay,
Just yeah,
that's a lot of money. But
yeah.
maybe for them it's not. I don't know. I mean, I've heard very drastic different numbers of what they had in their campaign for this,
Yeah.
as high as 20 million and never heard it lower than 8. But I don't know. I don't know what you heard.
Well, no, the latest, because it's public information, the latest info is $220,000, and I believe that was before they were invoiced from the signature collecting firm. So
Oh, they don't have that
currently
much
they
money at
no,
all.
no, no, they don't have that much. Now, what
Yeah,
could happen is when if they get the signatures,
they're gonna call Sarah
um,
McLaughlin.
then there could be people in waiting. Basically, the deal was you get the signatures, we're going to fund this. Now that could
Mm,
happen. Now that's also, from what I hear, and I hope this is true, from what I hear, the same thing on our side.
okay.
If they get the signatures and they qualify, then the money to properly fight this battle will show up. And what that means is, I'm talking full on. Think about a presidential election. Obviously, it won't be that big, but what do? They have TV commercials, they have billboards, they have, I don't know, yard signs, they have documentation, they have events. That's what will happen.
Mm,
And with the ask being essentially to vote no. That's what the issues committee will be
sure.
telling Colorado voters to do, is vote no on this. Vote no on ballot box biology, because it's harmful to wildlife management as a whole. I mean, that's an example, right?
Hmm.
Um, that stuff costs a whole bunch of money, more than all of this leading up till now. Because now you're buying space, you're buying ad space. It is a presidential year, election year, so things cost more.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of on both sides, I think. If they get the signatures, I would expect a lot of money to flow in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mountain Lion Foundation, who I think is a California organization, but it was founded by Gavin Newsom's dad, who's the governor of California. They have recently congratulated and are offering support to Cats Aren't Trophies in Colorado. You're going to see a bunch of groups jump on with them if they
Sure.
do qualify for the ballot. 100%.
Mm.
You know what's really cool? I found this out yesterday.
What's that?
So Wayne Pacell,
Purcell? Yeah.
Pacelli, he is the former head of the Humane Society of the United States. I believe he was kicked out of the Humane Society of the United States for sexual harassment. Did I get that right? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's it's something like
Along
that.
those lines.
Some sort of workplace, whatever. That's not the story, but that's who Wayne is. He now is Animal Action Network or Wellness Network. I don't know. He's with a different organization. Apparently, he said he has, in his decades of doing this, he has never seen an opposition like what they're facing in Colorado right now, which is pretty
That
crazy if you think about it.
that's
But
I think that's awesome. I
no,
mean,
it is. It's like, all
it's no
right,
better compliment than getting a
yeah,
even it might be whatever backhanded somehow, but
yeah,
compliment from your enemy, you know?
yeah. It's I don't even know how to take that. Well, it's cool. It means we're on the right track, but it's like Mike Costello said, he goes, man, that's crazy here, but you haven't seen nothing yet. I'm like, yeah, you haven't seen nothing yet. I mean, if this is the biggest opposition you've ever seen,
Hmm.
crap. What that yeah, it exposes a problem, really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, you got these organizations and who've been around for decades and decades and decades and decades. And,
Hmm.
a couple guys show up with a different attitude and roadmap, and the guy who has basically been involved in the Humane Society of the United States for a number of decades, says this is the biggest opposition he's ever seen.
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll just let that story write itself, I guess, but
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy to hear.
It makes me think about when Japan attacked like Pearl Harbor or whatever. They woke the sleeping dragon.
The sleeping, yeah, giant or whatever they, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Well, that's what we're trying to do, certainly.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, because I mean, the way I look at it is like, think about all the successes that we've had. We've had a couple failures, unfortunately.
yeah,
But all the success we've had, we've been able to move mountains with thousands of people.
yeah.
Could you
Oh yeah.
imagine, like, if this really starts steamrolling and we do have the millions of
Mm-hmm.
people involved?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
What you'll see if that happens is, of course, greater representation at the advocacy level. So at commission meetings or at the
sure,
legislative level or whatever. But I what that will mean is when you travel anywhere, you will see hunting, paralleled with conservation or cultural stories or sustenance stories, whatever it is. Hunting in a good light. You're going to see hunting in a good light
normalized.
being normalized, advertised, messaged to the general public, like uh on your day-to-day travels. I mean, that's what really needs to happen.
Hmm.
That's how you reach people and lead them somewhere where they can learn, and hunters ourselves becoming understanding the problem, understanding the issues we're facing, understanding where we need to get to, understanding what we need to prevent is maybe a better way to look at it. I don't know.
Hmm.
Becoming better ambassadors ourselves,
Right.
because that does have to change. And it's not that we are individually doing anything wrong. There's a few people who are, literally a few,
Sure.
but you know, humans, there's always a few people doing stuff wrong. But it's not that we are doing anything wrong individually. It's that maybe we're not recognizing how to prevent what's coming. And how to prevent what's coming means we need to be better ambassadors of how we portray ourselves, um, how we tell our stories, how we show pictures. This is the world we live in. We live
Hmm.
in a showing picture world that reaches billions of people potentially.
Right.
It's not just, you and your buddies in the garage. And maybe there were some publications or whatever in the 70s and 80s, but or your local archery shop, where you had
The tack board.
Cook Sportland in Monroe, Michigan. Yeah, you'd have a tack board, right? But there were only bow hunters that went into that shop. That was it. Those only people who ever saw it.
Right.
Now we live in a completely different world, and we have to tell a better story. Um, what I mean by that is not that we have to come up with better stories, not that we have
Not
not that the
fabricate
stories
it.
are we're not fabricating. It's
Yeah.
just you're reaching people who don't understand what you're doing at all, and they deserve a better they deserve a story that challenges, that introduces friction to the story that they've been told. That's
Hmm.
what you got to understand. They've been told another story about you. So can you retell that story? Can you give them something else to think about?
Hmm.
Um, can you um, can you walk away where they go, "Wow, I kind of like that guy. That was really cool."
Right.
Yes, I
Exactly.
think we can. I think we can. And
Yeah.
there's a lot to that. And um, Lorenzo Sartini, what is he? He's not the president. He's a founder of Go Hunt.
Yeah. He's the
Um,
president. I feel he's the president also,
I don't think
but
he's the
he's a,
president. The other, anyway,
oh
whatever.
yeah,
He's
maybe.
Go Hunt. He was on the podcast with Cam Haynes recently,
Hmm.
and they did talk about Howl on there a lot, which was awesome. But Lorenzo gets it, and he was talking about pictures, and he was talking about being an ambassador and telling stories and things like that. He gets where this is going, and I just really appreciated that. Um, and there are, I think in part because Howl does inspire a movement. We have inspired people to think differently and get engaged differently. We're seeing all these awesome people pop up with great
Mhm.
content and
Yep.
cool ideas and just being leaders. Like, hey, reaching out to their networks that we can't reach, and getting people to sort of have this mindset, this sea change of um of what it is that we need to do and how we need to go about the future of hunting, really.
Hmm.
And I just really I just want to point that out. There's so many people doing that. It's great. So many people getting involved at that level. Jason, I'm just going to come up with a bunch of names right now. Jason Matziger recognizes it really quickly. Lorenzo, all the guys at Go Hunt. Um, uh, Cameron Haynes, he even addressed it, I think, in that podcast where he said, I used to just post stuff and be like, yeah, who cares what anybody thinks?
Hmm.
But he's like, man, now I'm reaching so many people. I forgot exactly what he said, but he explained it pretty good on why he's thinking differently about that. Um, yeah, Hunt and Fool, they've been, stepping up and saying, hey man, we really like what you guys are doing. We want to help out. How do we help out? The Hush crew, right? They reached
Hmm.
out, like just all these people. And it's so cool. Was it Willie yesterday that did a
Yeah.
thing for CRWM?
Willie from Pure
It's
Hunting. Yeah.
unending. It's unending. I can't possibly name all the names, but it's like, man, this is the movement,
Right.
right? This is what we need. And it's not just those people that everybody knows. It's all the people that people don't know.
Yeah.
Who
Sure.
that makes up the
And
majority and where the power really is, right?
right. Exactly. Exactly.
I don't want to just be like, name dropping or stuff, but
Yeah.
it's I say it because people also at one time, not too long ago, they said those people will never help out. And no, that's changing.
Right.
And we're going to change that, and we're going to continue to change that and do good things and prevent what's coming.
Right.
If we
Right.
stayed on the path we were on, what is coming would be the end of hunting.
Exactly.
And we got to change that.
Yeah. And like you just said, we're gonna put a pin in it and make it or apostrophe next to it. Is it doesn't matter if you got 10 followers or 10,000 followers. It doesn't matter if you're popular or you're not popular. We all touch people. We all interact with other people. It's this, and I'm trying not to sound like my infomercial here, but it's that it's that interaction that's going to save. So, think about hunting, educate yourself on it, think about it in a positive light and what it means to you. And if somebody was to ask you, what does hunting mean to you? You should have like that answer already in your head and be ready for it. Cause that's what your job is right now. Like, do you want to know how to help out? Like, yes, please get involved with Howl for Wildlife, become a member. That's all awesome stuff. But the big war is won by you being an ambassador of hunting, of being a good steward of hunting and putting forth the right message so that when somebody who's on the outside looking in sees it, they're like, oh, all this crap that we've been force fed for since we were kids, since I watched Bambi is BS. Or is not may not be BS. Maybe there's a lot of bad actors, not a lot. There's a population of bad actors, and it's those people that the anti-hunting is trying to paint you as. Like everybody's that poacher, that that unsavory character that's
Perfect example is Daniel, Wyoming, the guy who brought the
right.
wolf and ran it over with a snowmobile and tied it up and brought it into the bar, it's still alive and all that. Perfect example. And I also think, had that not happened, let me think of how to put this. That happened,
He became the poster child for.
That individual became the poster child for Cats Aren't Trophies in Colorado,
Mhm.
amongst other organizations, anti-hunting organizations around the United States. And they said specifically in Colorado, Cats Aren't Trophies specifically said this. His face was on their website.
Oh yeah.
His face was on when people are out there collecting petitions. Um, Basically they're out there going, sign this to stop people like that.
Right. Exactly.
And had that not happened, I don't think they would have even submitted petitions, because the number that provided them such a motivation, that provided them such a
A big
boost
boost. Yeah.
in money, in people, in just enthusiasm, and in passion. And to some extent, I get it when something like that happens.
Hmm.
And that was a huge, that was just,
It
that
was a
was bad.
blow.
That
It
was,
was a
oh
big
God.
blow to hunting
To
because
hunting, yeah, to everything, and to everything we're doing, and talking about taking the sales out. I was, ragging on outdoor life. That right there was
that was
absolutely
taking
awful.
a bazooka to the bottom of the
Oh,
well.
dude, that was the Terminator Part One, not Part Two, where he
Yeah.
was good, where he was a good Terminator. That was Part One.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Oh yeah.
But that is not who hunters are. And yeah, there have been some who didn't like that we got involved in that, who didn't like that we condemned it, we called it out. But most of the hunting community, we're the only one that started I don't know, a sign-on letter opposing it. We're the only ones who did that. I think we have like 80 hunting organizations and different individuals and brands and companies and all that signed down
Hmm.
opposing that. The purpose of that was to help um, Wyoming Wildlife Federation. Jess Johnson runs that over there. Um, Help figure out like, hey, is there something that can be changed here? How about like if somebody takes a wolf and they transport it alive, um,
There's a bigger fine than
or
$250, a bigger
yeah,
consequence.
just like, something like that. And no, that's not going to lead to more legislation that is against trapping or against whatever. We are the biggest supporters of trappers and using hounds,
Hmm.
predator hunting, you name it. That there is. We fight most of our battles seem to be around that kind of stuff.
It's the low
That's
hanging
that's
fruit.
the low hanging fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, of
But
course. Well, I mean, that was the whole thing. It's like these people that were bitching. I'm like, well, listen, if you're upset about it, right? And you're afraid that the ball's going to be picked up from anti-hunting and they're going to run with it. It's going to make it basically make it worse. Like you're drawing more attention to it. Listen, they've already got the ball. They already picked up the ball. They're already running with it. They're already doing their thing. So if we don't beat them to the punch, so to speak, and direct which way we want the policy to go to fix these problems, then that policy is going to be directed by the squeaky wheels of anti-hunting. Like it's not going to be like what would you rather have? Would you rather have a hunter come up and say, "Hey, let's do, let's add this regulation and this regulation and this regulation to protect hunting?" Or would you rather anti-hunting come in and say, "Let's get rid of all hunting because of this?" And that's what's going to happen.
that act, I'm just kind of some sort of still on that right now because we haven't actually talked about this, have we?
No.
I'm kind of spitballing. That act did more for the anti-hunters than they could do for themselves. You know what I mean? Like that support came from a hunter,
Yeah.
frankly. That support came also from I didn't hear of, maybe there is some. I'm sure I would have caught it though, but maybe I'm wrong. I didn't hear from one single hunting organization besides us that
Hmm.
spoke up about this whatsoever. And that is a major, major fail. And the anti-hunters can point that out. Where's the pushback on this?
Yeah.
Now,
If you don't push back on it, if you're not going against it, then all they're going to do is see, this is how this is how all the hunters are. You're just making it easy for them to paint the picture of you. But if you're outraged by it, then they're like, oh, okay, then it's an isolated incident that happened by some crazy guy.
Yeah. And that's an extreme example, but I guess what I'm getting at is sometimes our actions can actually help out the anti-hunters,
Oh,
if we're
I
not
think
careful. And
we
then, but
feed
then
them.
at some point we also have to say sometimes they're also just completely stupid and just
Sure,
absolutely insane. So, they could also take any of our actions and try and turn it. But there's some
100%.
stuff it's like, let's separate the freaking piss from the milk here. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's there's some of it that's good for you and some of it that isn't. And there's got to be some common sense that's involved here, and we do need to wrap our heads around that. This is 2024, and it's a different world with social media, probably because of social media. It just is. It is what it is.
100%. Because I mean, you brought this up. You can do a search on Google or YouTube and watch videos of coyotes being taken with snowmobiles
Oh yeah, yeah,
and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
we are giving them the ammunition to take away. We do think there's things that are might be legal but not condoned by the mass. I don't like I'm trying to frame this right here, but
for people to show, for somebody to say, yeah, this is a great idea to film this and show this and put it out there,
where the
dude.
frick is what are you thinking? It's like, and I've used this example so many times, but it's like that guy that was like running over the hog with his quad,
Yeah,
and 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 that was like my first like super like realization of how people just want to do shit for likes and to have their 15 minutes of fame
yeah,
and don't think about what it does.
yeah,
Like, listen, even myself, like I know, and I feel like a hypocrite because even myself, I know I've done and put out like things that were acceptable at the time,
hmm,
like long shots or whatever the case may be. I never egregious shit like running things over with,
yeah,
or
yeah,
bludgeoning something to death or whatever. Nothing crazy like that. But even within my space, like I felt like there was things like kill shots and whatever that were
yeah,
wildly acceptable at the time, as long as it was being consumed by hunters. But that stuff doesn't ever stay. We already talked about it. It doesn't stay there. It finds a way to to reach other people. And when it reaches other people, how are they going to look at it? And I don't know. I think we do a
yeah.
really piss poor job of thinking about those things. And it's a hard thing to do. Like again, it's like for
Oh
me,
man, yeah.
I feel like it's a struggle.
We have a way harder job
Sure.
than the anti-hunters can show a picture. That picture of that wolf raised them millions of dollars from one picture
Yep.
and one headline. There were bikers from Texas that organized hundreds of them. I don't know how many that rode in from Texas to Daniel, Wyoming to raise money and GoFundMe and all that kind of stuff that all went to anti-hunting organizations from a picture and a headline.
Yep.
And imagine if we could just show a picture and a headline and raise millions of dollars. Well, we can't. Our job is way, 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 way harder. So yeah, that's completely recognized.
Yeah.
Um,
So I guess the takeaway from that is think about things before you do things. It's not
yeah.
that it's not, you know, we're not going to be perfect every time, but
And when stuff comes out, don't be afraid. Hunting organizations who represent hunters and want to make hunting better and everything. Don't be afraid to condemn stuff like that.
yeah,
Like your silence is sometimes saying a whole bunch. That needs to change.
yeah.
And well, what about poachers? Yeah, well, guess what? There's a fine for poaching, a pretty big fine for poaching. Generally, you can
Hmm.
lose your license. So yeah, when people do illegal things, there should be consequences. And yeah, this is kind of a loophole on this, but man, it was just wow. If it would all make sense to me if I found out it was anti-hunting organizations that paid the guy
I was praying that it was going to come out that way.
because it was just like the worst thing I could possibly
I
do.
was praying that that they were going to find like 500K in his bank account or some shit,
Yeah,
that was
yeah, it's just
put in
bad
there by
news. Bad,
God.
bad news.
Dude, that was like a nightmare.
Yeah.
I was
Again,
like,
that could have been. I wonder what that was like on the other side. I wonder when Cats Aren't Trophies found out about that.
oh my God. They were
If
like,
they were
you
like,
ever,
here it is. This is
yeah.
what we were waiting for.
Yep.
I definitely thought about that, and it's like, how do we find things like that? We gotta. Wish it was so. I wish it was as
I
easy.
mean, we
It's just
probably
not.
we probably could, to be honest with you. Like I know there was an organization at one point. I think it's still around. I know their website's still up, but like how they like point out all the fraudulent stuff of Husis.
Yeah, yeah.
And and like okay, so like for instance, you brought up Wayne Parcell or whatever the frick his name is.
Mhm.
Like I'm sure if you wanted to get into that political game like they do in mainstream politics, like, you know, so and so supported this and da 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 da, you
Mhm.
probably could. You probably could dive down some holes and find some pretty um dirty shit on people. My where my brain's going right now, I don't want to say it.
You don't want to go there. That's fine.
I don't want to go there.
I do that a lot. It's totally fine. Yeah. Well, what I
We're-
thought you were getting at was maybe I'm not sure. There's people, it gets back to the control thing. They just want to control people.
yeah,
They want to tell people
yes.
how to live.
That's a good way to put it.
They think they know better.
Yeah.
Um,
My way's the best way.
right. What's crazy bizarre about that is that the people that are telling you that hunting isn't natural, that sourcing meat from the natural landscape of Earth. So
Mhm.
outside of ag, outside of that, which is completely understandable because there's 8 billion people on the earth. We need to raise cattle and livestock and all that. But the people who are saying that that is wrong are the same people who are saying what is natural for you
Mhm.
is to grow soy and eat soy burgers and soy meat and all these things that are not
Yeah.
that that are like that doesn't naturally that's not natural. What are you
Nope.
talking about?
Nope.
Like the whole argument, like that's why it's just like let's really dig into this and get involved because what they are saying is so crazy. People just haven't exposed the crazy.
That's it right there. It's exposing the crazy and having that conversation with the middle ground
Yeah,
so they can say, oh, okay, this is hunting on this side of the fence, and this side of the fence is this just outlandish made up world that doesn't fucking make sense at all.
yeah,
They do a good job of figuring out how to make it make sense. They know how to tug on your heartstrings. They know how to uh portray their viewpoint in a way that's going to sway your emotions. But if you really step back and look at it, it's like that's some batshit crazy thinking. Like just the whole idea of not hunting, like I know we've said this before. I've heard Stephen Ranella say it before. It's like it's a new philosophy. This is like the
yeah, yeah,
last 50 to 100 years, right?
yeah.
And I made a post that I don't remember. I think it was that reel that you liked yesterday. When I originally made that post, I had a comment on there, like and somebody said something. Oh, that's not true. That we weren't hunter gatherers. We've been agriculturalists and this and that. I'm like, no, dude, that's not historically correct.
Mhm.
Like, we didn't start farming until, I mean, yes, we had like little
Sure,
farms or whatever,
sure.
but we didn't like farm the way we farm now. I mean, that's what, 1,000 years old? Like, we're not
The way we do now, I mean,
probably hundreds of
I
years,
don't know, hundreds.
hundreds of
Yeah, I would
years,
say yeah, hundreds. Yeah.
hundreds of years now. But even
Even
when
then, it's like the last 100 years where it's become, I think there was like a million people when the Europeans came to the United States, when the colonies, the 13 colonies, I don't know how many
Yeah,
people were in the United States then, but it was like a million. I mean, think
yeah,
about how crazy that is. You know what I mean? What is there now? 400 million?
yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, the levels of anyway, not to get off track, but yeah, no,
yeah,
it's recently, pardon
yeah.
me. Yeah.
So, just that in itself, it just negates their argument. Oh, the natural, well, I don't know. It's just, this is, I don't know if this is a conversation that we need to have with the people that listen to this podcast because they get it. They're hunters. They understand that. They know that we're dealing with the batshit crazy for the most part.
I think it
But
sparks ideas. The
yeah.
one thing that really just stands out to me that's just so hypocritical is, and I'll probably just say this wrong, but we're out there, we're out there hunting. Yep. We're killing things with a rifle or a bow or a shotgun or whatever else. And their argument is animal cruelty and these animals don't deserve to die and blah 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 blah. They're really missing most of the people that they are talking to, that they're trying to get to support, that they're trying to convince that, hey, this is animal cruelty. Most of those people eat meat.
Hmm.
Like,
There's
come
only
on, like,
there's only 4% or 5% of the American or I didn't mean the world, but 5% of the American public that don't eat meat.
yeah. So it's really just closing your eyes. I don't even know how to put. I don't know what it is. It's just sometimes I sit around and I think, God, what? Hold on a second. You're against me doing that. You're totally fine. I know you eat meat,
Hmm.
which means something died. That
Right.
you just didn't have your hands on it, but somebody else did.
Yeah.
How? Like, come on. Like,
Yeah.
let's just
How are
let's
you going to
just let's
take a
just have
selfie?
this real conversation here. This is crazy.
Yeah. How are you going to take a selfie with your freaking giant hamburger at your fancy restaurant or whatever, and then condemn
Yeah,
somebody for wanting to go procure their own meat like that?
yeah.
That drives me insane. And that number's gone up. It's um according to that last poll,
Hmm.
it's 26% of America is not okay with you hunting for your own meat, which tells me that there's 21%. It's actually more than 21% percent of people. So 4% vegetarian, 1% vegan. Okay. And not all the vegetarians and not all the vegans are against eating meat because of they feel bad for the animals, not because of animal welfare.
Hmm.
There's actually a small percentage, and I don't know what it is, that, or there's a percentage of those of that group that they just think it's a healthier lifestyle, right? They don't.
Hmm.
It's not an animal cruelty thing, and so technically, there's less. I don't know what that number is, but there's less than 5% of Americans that should have a moral dilemma with you going out to procure your own meat. So basically 21 to 22% of Americans are straight up hypocrites
Hmm.
because they're eating meat and they're not okay with you hunting for meat. It's like, oh, that just,
It's very bizarre.
I can't wrap my
It's
head
all
around.
it's almost like, are they recognizing, are they fully aware and present in the conversation? Like, are
Mhm.
they really recognizing what they're saying?
It's
Or
that
if you were to
disconnect.
sit down with them and go, okay, hold on a second, like, is this what you're saying? Is this what you're really saying here? Like, you go to Safeway and you go down the aisles and you have wrapped beef and whatever,
Hmm.
pork, and you're okay with that.
Hmm.
And we can go into where these animals lived and whatever else, that process, if you
Oh
want
yeah,
to, and you're
forget
fine with
about it.
that. Or you know I'm out there in Mendocino County with my bow, and I you know take a deer with my bow and arrow or my rifle, whatever, and find the animal and break it down and pack out the meat, literally butcher it myself,
Hmm.
and bring it home and put it in my freezer, and that's what I eat. Like, are you really saying that, or is there something? What else was there? Is there something I'm
Yeah.
missing? I feel like there's got to be something I'm missing.
And there's even
It
more to
doesn't.
there's even more to that. Like if you take it even a little bit further, so like a cow gets slaughtered in a slaughterhouse, all the not all because some of that stuff gets utilized for other things, but all the remains, like the bones and the intestines and so all that stuff, basically just get discarded in a garbage can. So
Mhm.
yeah, like microbes and crap eat it. But you leave a gut pile out in the woods, a bear is going to eat it, or a deer, or a fox, or a coyote, or something like
Yeah.
it's like even more naturally like all encompassing utilized. Like it's such a hard thing for me to.
Yep. There's other species there. It's the entire ecosystem. There's other species there that then feed off of that, off of the guts and the everything that's left, the bones that we leave, everything that's left, from insects to skunks to raccoons to vultures to bears, you name it, ants, everything. It's crazy, everything. When you say, actually, I was just guiding a couple of weeks ago, and I went back to this gut pile that was there like 6 hours before,
Mhm.
and I went back and there was like no trace of anything. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Eat these.
Like, what? Where did it all go? I can't even find it. Like, that was quick. Something came in and they
Yep.
got that quickly. But yeah, yeah, there's so many rabbit holes to go on that. But
Yeah.
our involvement, humans' involvement in nature and all of that. But
We're involved in
yeah,
nature. I thought we were aliens.
yeah, I know, right? We don't belong here at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. Well, I think I think that's
We
a good
won't.
place to end.
Yeah,
That could be another hour long
it
discussion
is. Yep.
here. But I think we hit on some important things, and especially some uh things that just popped up recently, with outdoor life and so on and so forth. So what are the
Yeah.
takeaways? It's you know, let's start being better to each other as hunters and not, be our own worst enemies. Let's start rowing in the boat in the same direction here. Um, and really let's start thinking about how you can have a positive impact on hunting within your social groups, outside of hunting. So, um, anything you want to add there, Charles, or
No, just it was a good that was a good rant on a bunch of stuff. Hopefully we reach some more people and they find out a little bit more about what Howl is. You can visit us at howlforwildlife.org and definitely follow us on Instagram, howl_org, and check out what we're doing.
sounds good? All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, wait, don't.
Oh,
And it wouldn't be, uh, yeah, let's talk about CRWM too. Also, if you want to get involved in help against the fight, help against the fight. I'm saying this all wrong. Help prevent the ban on hunting in Colorado. Go to savethehuntcolorado.com and help that wonderful organization out. They are really the spearhead of what's going on there. They are the main organization that is leading this charge. And we talked about it before. We don't know if the anti-hunters have the right amount of signatures or not. Um, but they need all the support. They need all the help that they can get. And just $5, $10, $100, or whatever you can comfortably afford, really goes a long ways, especially when we have 5,000, 10,000, a million people involved. Um, that can really solve a lot of problems because a lot of this stuff that we do, frankly, it just does take money. And And that's one thing that the anti-hunting organizations often do well is
Mm-hmm.
raise money. And we always hear about it like, oh, they got so much money and we can't compete with them. Well, why don't we either do simple math? What's $25 times a million? There's how many millions of hunters? There's 16 million that identify as hunters through buying licenses, something like that. Well, that's 25 million right there. And $25 is nothing to anybody. Like, come on. You're spending
Mm-hmm.
$25 when you go to freaking probably McDonald's these days. Um, that's the kind of mentality we need is strength in numbers.
Yep.
Anyway, savethehuntcolorado.com. Support CRWM.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on and ranting with me.
Yeah, good time.
We're probably having the same rant on the phone with each other, so it's good that we just recorded
It was basically a recorded phone conversation. Yeah.
it.
Yep.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.